As for MV3, and we'll get to the guest lines in just a bit. If you're holding, I see you. We'll open them up to get your Friday night thoughts. But how about this? The head-to-head matchups when it comes to elite quarterbacks is so often studied in this league, even though it's always an indirect matchup, right? But when Burrow and Lamar face off, there's going to be plenty of discussion. But what's not up for debate is that Lamar owns this head-to-head matchup. He is now 6-1. That's what he improved to last night in head-to-head matchups with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. The guy has been absolutely tremendous, and through 10 weeks, dare I say you could put a wrap? It's a wrap. Maybe, just maybe, it's a wrap on this MVP discussion. Look at what he did through 16 games in MV2 last year, 24 touchdowns. He's got 24 tutties through 10 games this year. We're not even into December football yet, folks. And maybe, just maybe, he's been best and most elite when trailing in games this season. No picks, 11 touchdowns, over 270 rushing yards, over 1,000 passing yards, and an adjusted completion percentage of 78.3. Guys, we're witnessing something special here. I know I sound like a broken record, but I will continue to reiterate that. This is special stuff. And it's got Colin Cowherd, Fox Radio, Fox Sports personality, who was once down on Lamar and has since for years running been all in on Lamar, speaking like this when it comes to what he's witnessing and what we all have had a front row seat to since Lamar came into this league 6+ years ago.
Us, when you mention the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, everybody puts Dan Marino in there. Everybody puts Dan Marino in. Never won a Super Bowl. Why does Lamar Jackson have to win a Super Bowl? That's one of the best players in the history of the league. I mean, last night, his defense is terrible. Derrick Henry didn't do much. He couldn't trust his kicker. Joe Burrow was on fire. He trailed 21-7. And he won the game. I mean, the Ravens were down 21-7, third quarter. You never thought it was over. You didn't think, oh, Lamar can't play from behind. That team needed 4 touchdowns in the last 4 drives. Boom, 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 delivered. Oh, that wasn't enough. Now they need a 2-point conversion. When they went for 2, did you ever for a second think Cincinnati would stop them? I didn't. And even though when the Bengals went for 2, I kind of thought they wouldn't make it despite the Ravens' defense being bad. Why? Because as great as Joe Burrow is, and he's great, Lamar's got more tools in his bag. A 2-point conversion with a bad defense against Lamar Jackson is like 1,000% going to happen. But I didn't trust Cincinnati, and I love Burrow. Lamar Jackson, remember when the big knock on him was, hey, he can't play from behind? This year, trailing, 11 touchdowns, no picks, and a passer rating over 120. Trailing 3 times this year. He's come back and won games trailing by 10. That was a huge knock. All he does is prove people wrong. If Dan Marino's a top 10 quarterback all time, and every list he makes it, where are his trophies? But Dan Marino was different. Probably the most seamless, effortless thrower we've ever seen. This is the greatest playmaker in the history of football at that position. I mean, he makes Michael Vick look, talented, I guess. Almost pedestrian. I mean, the kid's incredible. Lamar Jackson has become the show Mythbusters. Remember that show, Mythbusters? That's what Lamar Jackson is. The only difference is none of the myths are ever true. Okay, you still got that one where he doesn't win enough in the playoffs. Keep doubting this kid. Go ahead, keep doubting him. I mean, I watch him. This tiptoe thing down the defensive sideline. Like, what is that? I mean, if that was in high school against a high school defense, it would be insane. He's doing stuff, jump shot into the end zone. He's doing stuff nobody can do. And if you're going to say Marino's a top 10 player ever because he just threw the ball more effortlessly, then what is Lamar Jackson? I've never seen a player like that. And what really defines him beyond his great athletic ability, it would have been easy for him Because in high school and college, he didn't have to be amazing in the pocket. But in the NFL, every athlete's great, even the average ones. The margins are thinner. He could have easily just said, I'm going to run around, make Pro Bowls, get rich. And no, they didn't want to do that. He wanted to be an all-time player. So he comes back with traps. He's bigger. He's thicker. And then he loses weight because he thought he got slow. And then he improves in passing. He is an excellent pocket quarterback right now. I mean, to me, I'm watching Burrow and I'm watching Lamar. They're both great from the pocket. The difference is he has so many tools in his bag that he made Burrow just look really talented. And Joe's an all-timer. So there's just, I don't even know, I don't know what defense beats him. You can figure out the answer to beat most quarterbacks, even the good ones like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. Get pressure on him. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, Cincinnati had pressure on him. Cincinnati's got one of the best rush ends. It didn't work. They needed 4 touchdowns. He delivered at the end. And oh, by the way, that wasn't enough. They needed a conversion. And I don't think outside of maybe the tush push, I've never seen a conversion I was so absolutely sure that was going to be converted with Lamar Jackson. And I don't even feel like that. I kind of feel like that with Andy Reid and Mahomes, but not to that level. There are a lot of great players in Baltimore around Lamar Jackson, but they didn't do anything. The defense was terrible. Derrick Henry, not much. They missed a PAT. They had 11 penalties. Some on offense, but 11 penalties. Just nothing like it in the world ever. And if you're going to put Marino in that top 10 without a trophy room, you got to start considering Lamar Jackson. Never seen anything like this.
Colin Cowherd with yet another epic Lamar Jackson rant. He continues to come full circle or a 180 from where he used to stand on the Lamar Jackson experience when he first came out of Louisville. And of course, you heard the quote that he had to say, right? That's one of the best players in the history of the league. And maybe, and by the way, thank you, Alan, for the super chat donation. Appreciate all the work you do, Bobby. Saw the Ravens in London last season, hoping to get over from Scotland to the bank and your pregame show next season. Alan, I would love to see that. And hey, if you want to meet me in Scandinavia for the bye week, I'm going up to Oslo, Norway, and Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm super fired up about it. But I know that's quite far away from where you are, but looking forward to getting across the pond here in a few short weeks to break up the season a little bit, just because this is a grind of all grinds. But maybe what's most impressive about Lamar last night is this razor thin margin for error and this amount of pressure that comes with, which is what he's playing in. That's the reality that Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson have to operate within when they have a defense that's bleeding. And I thought Mina Kimes shared some good perspective on that.
With Lamar, who showed the world why he is the MVP favorite, right? He went 10 for 11 for 162 yards on 3rd down. Perfect passer rating. That's great. What's less great is he needed every single one of those 10 completions because the margin for error on this team is so small. In the first half, most of their struggles on offense were due to the fact that they had drives derailed by penalties. And of course, they overcame that, and Lamar overcame it, as he so often does. But when I look forward to the playoffs here, going up against teams like the Bills or the Chiefs, I worry that if one of those penalties happens against, say, an illegal man downfield on RPOs, common thing with the Ravens, because the defense is so bad, they won't be able to overcome just a single penalty derailing a drive. He has to be flawless. In the second half, he was. That was enough for this week, but it is concerning going forward.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. And that was kind of the whole point of today's show, whether it was on the Vault or whether it was this morning on my channel here. It's that 7-3 is great through 10 weeks of football. You're squarely involved in the postseason picture, but this kind of defense, this incomplete defense, it's going to come back to rear its ugly head. This is not a championship caliber football team in all 3 phases. We haven't even mentioned special teams yet. Justin Tucker, I hate to say it, but he's become a liability. and certainly far from automatic. Um, this team's not disciplined. That's the problem. And as Mina just referenced, that was the only thing that was getting in their way in that first half. They finished with 11 penalties, which negated 81 yards, and one of them was declined. So yeah, that's not a going into the game. They ranked at the bottom of the league in both penalties charged and also yards given up. So it's an area they got to get better. They have to get better.